Hey students, welcome back to your social science history class. Yesterday we had started with the lesson The Ancient Civilization of India. In the previous class we had studied about the nomadic life, how it became stable, the first urbanization and the significance of the cities. Today we will be moving on to the town planning children. The Indus Valley or the Harappan people were primarily urban people. They lived in well planned towns and took great care to look after the cleanliness. The cities grew up according to a set of scheme. The roads, you can see here, children, the roads and the streets were very wide. The width of the streets, it was 3 meters to 4 meters. The roads were 4 meters to 10 meters wide. All the streets and roads from north to south and east to west, so that they could be cleaned automatically by the prevailing winds. Buildings were not allowed to encroach upon the public highways. In fact, the Indus Valley people had developed a keen civic sense and they fully obeyed the civic authority. According to Dr. A.D. Pusilkar, a visitor to the ruins of Mohenjo-daro is struck by the remarkable skill in town planning. The city has the creation of careful forethought and planning. Now we will move on to the drainage system, children. The Indus Valley people had a high sense of health and sanitation, and they possessed an elaborate drainage system. Each house had its own small drains, which were directly connected with the street drain, which ran under the main streams and below many lanes. Each house had its own soak pit, and water flowed from the sink into the underground sewers in the street. The drains were made of mortar, lime, and gypsum. They were covered with bricks and stones. There were manholes at a regular intervals for inspection. People did not throw ash and other refuse in the drains. All this shows that the drains were constructed on scientific lines and their drainage system was in no way inferior to the underground drainage system of the modern times. Professor S.R. Sharma, he writes, the archaeologists have marveled the skill with which the whole system was planned and constructed. The Indus Valley people live. Now we will move on to the civic organization. You can see the houses, how they were built, the roads. They had 2 stories and 3 stories also. The Indus Valley people lived in a well-planned towns. The towns had adequate arrangements for water supply. The discovery of lampposts at intervals reveals the existence of street lighting. Sanitation was also properly looked after. Rubbish was thrown into the dustbins. The sweepers kept the cities neat and clean. Buildings were not allowed to encroach upon the public highways. There were inns for travelers. The system of watch and ward at night also existed. Nobody could build pottery kilns in the city. All these things indicate the existence of some civic organization whose authority was well respected by the people. It has been rightly said that well-planned towns, elaborate system of drainage, and efficient civic organization were the monumental achievements of the Indus Valley people. Now we will move on to the social life of the people or social organization. The prehistoric man. The prehistoric man remains discovered at the Harappa and Mohenjo-daro also throws a good deal of light on the social life of the Indus Valley people. The, it is not so easy to say to which particular race these people belonged because a very few skulls and bones have been discovered. The few skeletons which have been discovered are in such a condition that it is difficult to solve this problem. Some scholars consider them as a branch of the Indo-Aryans, while others think they are Dravidians. Some other thinkers are of the view that they are not the same as the Sumerians and the Cretans. Discoveries of skeletons show four racial types, mainly of the Mediterranean type. This problem of race is really a baffling, and it is difficult to come to any definite conclusion. This problem can be solved only when the script is dispersed. But the small size of the windows and doors show that they were short in stature. Now, when we move on to the food habits, their food was very simple. They ate wheat, barley, rice, milk, and milk products. They liked fruits and vegetables. They also used fish, eggs, and meat. Now, when we move on to the dress, in the absence of the actual specimens of clothing, it is difficult to describe the dress of the Indus Valley people. Clay spindles and the dress of the statues and carvings on the seals throw some light on their dress. Clay spindles suggest that they knew how to view cotton. The clothes were generally of cotton, though wool was also used. From the dress of a male figure on a statue, we come to the conclusion that the men wore a dhoti and a shawl, covering the left shoulder and passing behind the right shoulder. The female dress did not differ much from that of the male. When we move on to the ornaments, that is the jewelry, both men and women were fond of wearing ornaments. Necklaces, fillets, finger rings, and armlets were used by both the sexes. Girdles, anklets, earrings, bangles, nose studs were owned by women alone. The ornaments were made up of shells, bones, gold, silver, ivory, copper, precious stones, etc. There are various shapes and designs and were exceedingly charming and beautiful. When we move on to the hairdressing, children. When we move on to the hairdressing and cosmetics, the Indus Valley people were great lovers of beauty. They were familiar with the various styles of hairdressing. Even now also you do the hairstyles, isn't it? We can come to know from this, when we study this, we come to know that the hairstyles were also there during the Indus Valley civilization. Men kept long hair. Even now also we find, isn't it? Woven in a lock at the back or collected as a bun in the middle of the head. Men kept beards in the different fashions. Women were also familiar with the various hairstyles. They kept their hair in order and the tied with the help of the fillets and hairpins. Even toilet jars discovered at Mohenjo-daro show that the young maidens took keen interest in beauties and the toilet culture. They knew the use of mirrors, combs, face paint, lipstick, and the colorim. Colorim is surma and the perfumery. See, now even we also use, isn't it? When we study about this, we come to know that these were all there during the Indus Valley civilization. Now we will move on to the amusement. Like all civilized people, the Indus Valley people found the time for enjoyment. They had a great interest in the indoor amusement and they did not like the outdoor games much. Dancing and singing were their popular amusement. A large number of dyes of various kinds have been discovered. It shows that they were fond of playing dice. Hunting, fishing, bullfighting, and cockfighting were some of the means of amusement. Children amused themselves by the means of various kinds of toys such as whistles, rattles, toy carts, water jugs, etc. The girls played with dolls. Thus, we can say that the social life of the Indus people were very wealthy. We also see that we also see that the economic activities, when we move on to the economic activities of these people children, the agriculture and domestication of animals. The domestication of the domesticated animals like the bull, the buffalo, the cow, the dog, the sheep, goat, and the camel. Wild animals like tiger, the bear, the rhinoceros, the hare, the monkey were also known to them. The discovery of a large number of spindles show that in this valley people knew the art of weaving, and textile industry was an important industry of these people. Spinning and weaving were done in every family and they kept a large number of people busy. The craft of pottery attained a high degree of excellence. The pots were made on wheel. The Indus Valley potter was a skilled craftsman and produced plain, colored, and glazed pottery. The glazed pottery was decorated with designs and pictures. It is believed that the glazette in this pottery is the earliest example of its kind in the ancient world. The jewelry produced wonderful jewelry for the use of people. Praising the craftsmen of jewelry, Sir John Marshall says, the gold ornaments are so well finished and so finely polished that they might have come out of a Bond Street jewelry that is in London rather than a house of 5,000 years ago. The metal workers had made various kinds of tools, implements, utensils from copper and bronze, such as the spears, knives, and also the arrowheads, fish hooks, and razors. Iron was not known to them. The making of beads and amulets was also popular. They were made of clay, stone, paste, shell, and ivory. The Indus Valley craftsmen had excellent articles of shell and toys for the children. The rectangular seals reveal the rectangular seals uh, reveal the artistic skills of the Indus Valley craftsmen. They were perhaps used by the traders to stamp their goods. Both inland and foreign trade was carried on by the Indus Valley traders. They made trade relationship with foreign countries.